Say my origin story is when I discovered that there was something to label what was going on with me. And that happened at 30 years old. No, I just had to, live through it, and it kind of messed with my self-esteem in certain ways because
Yeah.
there were things about myself that I wanted to be better at or fix, and I couldn't get around, like, no matter how much I tried, I couldn't get around those things. My inability to like finish things when it got down to like the final small details, my forgetfulness,
Mhm.
my inability to like finish things when it got down to like the final small details. Those two were the top things. And then as I learned really fast, then I got bored really fast, and then
Right.
I would stop paying attention. So then that would affect my grade. I didn't feel like anything was wrong with me until I got older, and I just couldn't. I still didn't think anything was wrong. I just thought, I have a really, really bad lack of discipline. So that that kind of it built up over the years to where I didn't believe in my ability to execute things. So opportunities would come by, and in order to not allow myself to let someone else down, I would just turn things down. Before knowing I have ADHD, would probably have turned down the opportunity when Super asked me to come on the podcast.
Mhm.
I probably would have been like, I don't know if I can actually commit to that and execute and get things done. It was actually a little harder than I thought it would be because when I figured it out, it
How
kind
did you
of
figure it out?
it came up. Something came up on like maybe YouTube or social
Social
media,
media.
and I was curious. Like they said something, and it just made me curious. I don't remember what it was, but I'm pretty sure it had something to do with my inattentive symptoms. So I just took a deep dive and just started looking into ADHD. And I'm just like, wait, this is like somebody going through a list of symptoms. And I would say some people have ADHD and some people suffer with ADHD.
Mm.
I would say I suffer with ADHD. And that was like a breath of, it kind of made me scared to know that it's like, all right, I have to deal with this for the rest of my life. These are not
Mhm.
things that I can change. But then it's also, all right, I know. It was a very mixed bag of emotions because it's like, yo, if I would have known sooner, I would have been so much better at managing these things. But it's like he doesn't need help getting the work done. He's got this. So now me needing someone to hold me accountable just to make sure the work gets done, it doesn't that idea wouldn't, make sense to the people around me. Kind of settled with that. Like this is who I am. I'm really forgetful. I'm liable to lose things, and I I can't remember. I never understood the overstimulation part of it. I just thought,
Mhm.
sometimes my brain, I just thought I was like in my head person, and
Mhm.
I'm just always thinking,
I mean,
overthinking, spacing out. I just always described it as, I live in my head. There's a whole world going on in here. While simple things are happening out here, I'm
mhm.
somewhere else. But I didn't know that this was, a thing. The mixed emotions, it went on for a while. Like I think I at one point, like really looking at all the symptoms and now realizing that they're symptoms, it's like, okay, so these are things that I'm going to be like this. I also used to feel bad at like, the out of sight, out of mind thing where I'm already not social. I don't like texting. I don't like being on the phone. And then I'm out of sight, out of mind. So if I don't see you, I don't speak to you. And
Mhm.
that made it so like I'm just distant from a lot of people that don't understand it. My friends understand it, but family would never really understand the concept of like me loving you, but I don't really have a grasp of
It's
missing people.
I
I feel like I genuinely love people from the bottom of my heart, but for me to explain to them that I don't really feel that sensation of missing someone. I realize I miss you when I see you again. Think about someone and think about reaching out. I think about all these people
Oh,
all
yeah,
the
I
time,
do
and I
too.
never get around to it. And I feel like the longer I don't speak to someone, the more intimidating it is to start a conversation because I hate small talk. I hate catching up. But if we're hanging out, it's different. We're just enjoying each other's company, and we may talk. We may get squeeze some of that small talk in.
Mhm.
But it was harder than I thought to get a diagnosis and get to a point where someone was willing to prescribe me medication. especially with me not being able to, those processes are hard for me, like maintaining appointments, scheduling
Yes.
appointments, showing up on time, just those little things. People wouldn't understand how hard it is for me to get around to something that I've been thinking about doing for every day for the past year. It's like, I got to make this appointment. I got to make this appointment. I got to make this appointment. I got to find this. I had to go do blood work for a year. Like, I literally had the paper. And after a year, I finally went and did it. That's like how bad it gets for me. And it's not something that I'm not afraid of needles. I'm not afraid of the doctor's office. Even simple things like I want to, sometimes I want to spend my time playing video games more. And I'll be home and I'll think about playing video games like as a just something to stimulate me, and then I'll think about other things that I have to do, and then I'll just be paralyzed. Nothing gets done. I'm just sitting there staring off into space or scrolling on Instagram or watching YouTube videos about nothing that I'm not actually paying. I'm not paying attention to any of it. I think once I got to the point where I was speaking to a doctor, I didn't have any trouble with the medication.
Oh.
I don't complete artwork if it's not for clients. And even if it is for clients, if it's not like tattoos where I have you right in front of me, it's nine out of 10. If you don't give me a deadline, I'm probably going to start it one day and then never go back to it. I've been tattooing for 13 years now. This was actually my brother's idea. He just knew me to do art my entire life, and he had tattoos. So it was an idea for him to get free tattoos. In the creativity, my mind is in so many places at once that I pull ideas from everywhere. As far as the creative aspect of it, I didn't implement much creativity when I first started. It was more so, just understanding technique and getting paid, figuring out how to make money, stay consistent, find more clients through other people. Then, as the years went on, and I realized that just doing the tattoos every day is not what's going to make me a better artist, I decided to kind of pivot into studying techniques and learning from other people, because I also never did an apprenticeship. I started on my own and just figured it out. It has definitely, I've gone through long phases of people complaining about how hard it is to get in contact with me, and them going to different artists because they couldn't get a hold of me. And that's the part of the business that I can't, it's really hard for me to manage, just keeping in contact with people. And people don't understand how crucial that is for me when when I just see somebody booked an appointment and maybe they ask the questions after. I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm learning it about my clients because I'm open I'm open about my ADHD. But as far as like other tattoo artists, I don't really know many of them on like a personal level. So I think it's an expression, and it's also like something that people who are really spontaneous tend to like, sometimes it just be they wake up today and like, hey, I want a tattoo. Whereas most, like, I feel like neurotypical people will probably take some more time to think through getting something like that done. So for me, getting tattooed, I wouldn't even be able to have like a good reference point, because a lot of the time, like, I spent getting tattooed, it was me doing it. And I think my hyper focus like blocks out the pain. The podcast, Dirty Street Confessions, I'm one of the hosts, and I also do the editing, not solely. We split that workload up between Dwight and I. And then outside of like just being a host and doing editing, we do a lot of brainstorming and coming up with ideas. And then I do camera work as well, so I'm able to do, like, I do my brother's I engineer my brother's podcast actually here in the shop. So it's widespread. I picked up a lot of tools along the way, just being curious and looking at things like, oh, I want to try that. And I'm really like a technical person. I study technique, so that's how I end up being really good at a lot of things that like people would assume that I would be out here trying to make money off of all of it. But it's like I don't actually have the interest to stay focused and get the follow. It's the follow through. I'm still worried about that, honestly. So it's like I don't want to, tell you I'm gonna shoot your music video, and then when you need your edit done, you're still looking for me like, hey, are you done yet? Are you done yet? Are you done yet? One of the hardest hurdles of finding it out so late, because it's like so many things that I know I need to work on at once. And it's like, I want all of these things to start changing together. And it just like, you can't do it all at once. So you got to focus on one thing at a time, which is contradiction with ADHD. I was hard on myself. I was always hard on myself. So as I started to learn what it was about, what causes it, I kind of the focus shifted to now figuring out ways to work with my therapist. So it's like she complements my insight and self awareness a lot. Like anything that I'm interested in, I start to explore really deep into just learning it. So even before the podcast, like they kind of refer to me on the show as like the facts guy. A lot of the knowledge I picked up just being curious and wanting to be better at that, because I'm socially awkward in a lot of senses. And I had like a little bit of like my first few sexual encounters, I had very, very high levels of performance anxiety. So, anxiety and sex don't go together. It's definitely being comfortable with somebody. I learned the hard way not to just jump in just because I wanted to. I was young, just trying to, have a body count and say I did this and say I did that. But then trying to have sex with someone that I don't have a connection with, the anxiety is through the roof. I'm overthinking everything and it just doesn't work out. That I realized the moment I learned I had ADHD, there hasn't been maybe an hour of a day where I didn't reference my ADHD in my mind. So it really changed me. Like I'm
Yeah.
still outwardly the same person, but as far as like learning myself and paying attention to what I'm doing or how ADHD affects me, like inclined to just sit there and think about past situations and how it was part of why it went the way it went. My
So,
grades, getting
yeah.
in trouble. I got in trouble a lot for the same stuff. It was me not doing the work. Teachers would always say, "Yo, he's smart. He passed the test, flying colors, but he just doesn't do the work, or he's talking through class." But then I had teachers that would yell at the person that's talking to me because they're like, "You can't afford to talk to him because he's going to pass the test, and while you're talking to him and falling behind." They will shame the other student for not for talking to me because I'm able to do both. It's a little like tricky because they're providing the information for me, but their experience is probably a little different than mine, just based on, culturally, it'd be more fitting to learn some of these things from someone with a more similar experience, life lifestyle wise. But it's only like one black doctor that I follow on Instagram that talks about this stuff. It's more internal, like someone like me who actually took the time to learn these things, and all I understand all the lingo and all that stuff. It and I look like the kids that, you know, that need to hear it, or the parents that need to hear it about their kids. Like, you don't want to hear the guy from the neighborhood telling you how you can make it out that's a politician now, but
Right.
you also don't want the rapper telling your kids how to make it out. The thing is, people use it like the same way people use OCD. Like someone who's very organized would be like, "Oh, that's
Right.
my OCD." Yeah, ADHD is slang. ADD is slang.
But
People who
it's
aren't paying attention or get caught up or, drift off for a moment, because everybody has symptoms of ADHD on at some level. So it's
right.
a bunch of people just throwing the term out. So I feel like there's a lot of times when I actually say stuff like that, that someone neurotypical would say the same thing. People look at me as if I'm just saying it casually, and it's not actually what my experience is. Sometimes I have to break it down to them. I'm like, no, I actually do have ADHD. It's not. And most of the times
Right.
when I reinforce it, they did think I was joking. That's one of those things that bother me. I actually more bothered by people saying OCD than ADHD. But casually throwing that around and you didn't do any research or anything, it's like you kind of gotta help people understand that this is not okay, because if you actually met someone with OCD who
Right.
has to turn the doorknob 6 times before they leave the house,
Right.
something bad is going to happen otherwise. It's like, it's obsessive compulsion. When I figured out I had ADHD, but it was kind of taking me long to get around to making an appointment, I reached out to a friend who can get his hands on pretty much anything.
Street pharmacist.
Yeah. I was curious to see like how it would affect me, because I feel like based on what I was reading, it's like you would know based on how it makes you feel if you have ADHD, because the average person is just gonna give them like a hyper focus
Right.
and the kind of euphoric feeling. It's like where not knowing you couldn't see and like living like that until someone finally puts some glasses on your eyes, and it's like, oh, so this is how quiet the mind is normally for other. They'll wake up and just, this is what I need to do. So that's what I'm gonna work on. Versus us, we wake up and we struggle with waking up first and foremost, and then working on the first step. Like for me, I just started wearing all black, like just consistently, because now I could just grab. I have like a bunch of these shirts, 2 pairs of cargos like this, and a bunch of black sweatpants. I'll pick an outfit, but otherwise, and this is as of late, so maybe I think whatever I experienced with Adderall is, I feel like this is different on 30 milligrams of Vyvanse, and I know it helps, but I didn't want to switch to Adderall. When I was looking to get medication, I just felt like asking for Adderall made it look like I was just here just to play games, and I'm just trying to act like I have a problem so I could sell drugs or take drugs. Not frustrated. I have to remind myself to eat. That's pretty much it. I used to, because I'm like a late person, I used to take my medication at like 2 in the afternoon, 1 in the afternoon, and that would kind of affect my sleep. But I always slept late, so it didn't really occur to me that it was affecting me in any way. But then there were times where I would actually have woke up early, but decided to still take it late, and then I was tired but couldn't sleep. Yeah, I would have a month's worth of pills for like 4 months. It happened to me before. I was supposed to be working on something, and I started drawing, and I locked in for maybe 8 hours straight, just working on this one design. Earlier than 11 in the morning, at least. But I think even days where I wake up really early, I'd probably try to take like 8, which is even better, because I know for sure at nighttime it has worn off. And I think even as an adult, telling people like I have ADHD and then going over the symptoms, everybody I talk to is like, oh, maybe I have ADHD, because everybody has some of those symptoms. So when I explain it, it doesn't sound like something that's hard to deal with, because they think they deal with it on the same level that I do. If you got a smart kid and they're smart, but they're falling behind in school, take some time to just work. Even if you don't want to go get them diagnosed or take them to a doctor, just take the time to hold them accountable for getting the work done, and don't scold them or however you do your discipline, because it might not even be the fact that they're lazy or don't want to do the work. It might just be they need an accountability partner, someone to get them through this stuff, because they're not stimulated by it.